All right, here we are. Let me know if everyone can hear me, if everyone can see me. Hello, 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 hello. We're back, we're back, we're back. Let me know, let me know, let me know. Let me see. Hello, hello, hello. This has been a very long time. Let me see if everything is set up correctly as well. It seems to be working. It seems to be all right. Seems to be nice. All right. How is everyone doing? Beautiful office space. Thank you, thank you. A new one. The previous one was in my what is it? Sort of basement. This is a lot lighter. The previous one was basically a dark hole. This one is a little bit nicer. The long hair suits you well. Thank you, thank you. I've been thinking of going bald actually again, but I've been getting compliments. Mainly from men, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Happy to see you as well, my friends. Wow, 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 wow. Love to see it. I already saw Igo the ICT as well, my friend. Great to see you, my friend. Love to see it. Hello, Daniel, Omar, Joseph, Casper. Love to see it. Hope, of course. Hope is back as well. Jay Cuervo. Love to see it, my friend. Josh of X. Welcome back, my friend. You welcome back. Bald Arjo is so clinical looking. Okay. This has been a while. No longer Batman, love the new environment. Yeah. The previous one was it was the Batcave, yeah. It was super dark. Super dark. Love to see it. Love to see it. Thank you. I appreciate it, Alex. Thank you. Hello, Juan. Samir. Daniel, Claudia. Hola. I made friends with Derek in your absence. Yeah, a lot of people seem to do that. Love to see it. If you send an email, it's usually Derek as well that replies, so. Why are you on holiday? Waiting for your video. Yeah, so we'll get into that as well. I have a few things that I want to go over. Let me grab it a little bit closer. Can everyone see it? Yes. Okay. Let's see. So we have number one, my handwriting. My handwriting is absolutely atrocious. It does not look good at all. I hope you're able to read it at least. So here you have number one. I'm going to give an update on everything that went going on, everything, etc. What's going on with the videos, etc. It's been 2 months, like Hope mentioned. That's a very long time. Then number two, we have, of course, the forecast. Of course, we're back with the forecast. Then number three, I want to do something new in the live streams. So I want to do I thought of the name, the topic of the week. So in the weekly breakdown in the MMT, what we do every single week, we have a certain topic that we go over. So think of this week, if it's really showing throughout this week, it might be fair value gaps, it might be order flow, it might be candle signs, something that really pops out throughout the week. This week, in my opinion, it's this HP week. Now that is a high probability week. How we can spot good weeks, how we can spot bad weeks as well. So those are 3 things that I want to go over. Of course, also all the questions that we have. Am I late? You are perfectly on time, my friend. We are just starting. No worries, my friend. Hello, Joseph. Love to see it, my friend. Profitable trader from Kenya. Yeah, there are so many different nationalities in the chat here. It's absolutely insane. I love to see it. New here, bro. Your content changed my perspective. Thanks for that. Thank you for watching. Oh, love to hear it. The world of fair value gaps. When? Yes. Let's get into the update. Number one, update. I've been gone for quite some time. The last live stream was before I went to Europe, actually. So that was quite a long time ago, and that was when I took my summer break. Now, after that, quite a lot of things within our overall team, etc., have also changed. So, for example, we're actually working with new designers. We're working with new editors as well. I'm a perfectionist. So when I push out certain content, like a video, World of Fair Value Gaps, which will be just one video, it's very important for me that we bring as much value as possible and it's as clear as possible. So the editor, that's just purely, well, at least how I view it, it needs to do it very well. It needs to be on the same level as me. And finding an editor like that is, of course, that takes training, that takes time. So that is mainly what we've been working on in the meantime. The video is already recorded for about a month right now. It's already edited a part of it as well. It will hopefully, I hope it will be online next week. Either Saturday, like usual, or the Tuesday. We'll see what fits, etc. But hopefully it will be online next week right there. So just so you know, we had a few things within the team as well that changed, etc. And that essentially, we want to build a very good foundation. So for example, we can also start pushing 2 videos a week instead of 1 video. And that we can really emphasize on making more infographics, etc. That's the goal. So providing even better, more education for free, essentially, right here on YouTube, for Instagram, for Twitter, whatever it may be. That's the goal. So that takes time, building that foundation. And that's what we've been doing as well. So just so you know, that's what we've been working on for quite some time right now. And once that starts going, yeah, that's going to be very nice. We're going to have really high quality, very good videos, even in a little bit of different settings. So even what I want to do is I also want to make some psychology videos in the future. And that's what we've been working on, how to approach it, etc. Our style. So yeah, that's really exciting. At least I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I'll be the editor just to get the videos early. Well, usually, I have to be honest, it's not necessarily the editor's fault. As in, the editors they do it really well. The editors that we have are really good. It's me. I'm a perfectionist, so I have something in my mind when I create a certain video and how I want to explain certain things, and then the edit should perfectly reflect that, if that makes sense. So if one candle doesn't necessarily highlight that, then I want to do it again and do it again. And so you will have a lot of feedback if you're an editor for us, but it's a really fun process, in my opinion. Love you from Ghana. Love you from Colombia, my friend. Love to see it. Please make another bias video. We'll do that. We will actually have a really good video. Oh, no. Wait, hold on. I just fell into almost a huge trap again. I can't mention the videos that I'm going to make. So World of Fair Value Gaps, yes, that one I mentioned. I can't mention it anymore. I've seen what happens on YouTube. I've seen everyone creating content again. They're inspirationless when we are not here. They don't copy our content because we're not posting anything. So they're inspirationless. So I'm not going to mention any video that's coming up as well, because they're going to copy it, and then we'll have that drama again. Oh, yeah. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for the new videos. Let's see. Yeah, I noticed such. Yeah, it's funny, right? It's funny when we stop posting. There's but I'll leave that up to you guys. I'm just curious, which nationality are you? I'm from the Netherlands, so I'm Dutch. Dutch. The Dutch people will know the heavy accent. Let's see. I'm loving the new setup. Me too. It's very light. So what I actually had, and if you're experienced that as well, in your case, I had my my setup was in the basement of my house, essentially. So it was very dark, and throughout the day I was quite tired overall as well. And then I moved towards well, essentially just went up a floor and towards a very light environment. It helps a lot with your overall energy throughout the day as well. Something, if you experience that, could be quite interesting for you as well. I missed you too, guys. I missed you too, Marvelous. I missed you too. I'll let you figure that out, Nick. I'm not here to call people out or anything. It's just something funny to me. Let's see. Do you do scalping? I personally don't scalp at the moment, but yes, I can do it. I can do it if I want to, but I personally don't do it. It seems like it a lot of the time, mercy receipt. It seems like it, yeah. Quite interesting. I want to change my name to FEG because of you, Arjo. That's lovely. That's sick. That's sick. That's sick. I love to see it. We get more compliments with Arjo's hair than questions. Yeah. It's been a long time, though. I can understand it. I can understand it. The white rolling egg behind you. The moon. The moon is back. The moon is back. So actually, first, I had it out of this room. I didn't want the moon anymore. I thought, let's get rid of the moon. It's just a little bit distracting, etc. in the back. There doesn't serve any purpose. Then someone mentioned it. It was quite a long time ago. It was, I believe it was a Dutch person as well. And they mentioned the moon and that they would love to see the moon again. So of course, I had to bring it back. Had to bring it back. Let's see, let's see. All right, let's get a start. Let's get a start with the forecast, first of all. Sean, my brother, love to see it. Wow, wow, wow. Love to see it. Have you got a social media manager? There's currently one on trial. So he's on trial right now. But if you want to send your application, you can always send your application to us. And we'll just take a look. If you have a lot of potential, we think you're very good, then yeah, we'll make something work. Thank you, Abikal. There's no need to donate, by the way. I don't need that, so thank you, but I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Let's see. All right, we need more listening type videos like podcasts that we can listen to while working for driving. Love from Switchblades. Switchblades, my friend. Love to see it. Switchblades is an MMT member. Love to see it. Wow, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it a lot. That's actually a good one. I thought about that, you know. The live stream here, a lot of time is also just, well, me talking, go over questions, not necessarily always the chart. So it could be quite interesting to create something like that. Could be quite interesting. 100%. All right, perfect. Let me get into the forecast. First of all, remove this one right there. Get into the forecast right now. And after, we'll go over the topic of the week that I want to go over. And then after, of course, in the meantime, we'll go over different questions as well. Perfect. Let's see. Let me change my screen. Let me see if everything works. Okay. I'm sitting right there. Let me see and let me know if it's annoying when I'm on screen or whatever. Okay, let's see. Let me see if you can see everything clearly. Can I be a little bit smaller right there? Something like that. I think this is all right. I think this is all right. But let me know. Let me know. All right, perfect. Let's get into this. First of all, of course, not necessarily diving into the chart. Let me actually see here the economic calendar right there. Perfect. Let's see. What do we have? Okay, heading into next week. What do we have? Let me see if you can see it. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Heading into next week, we have quite an interesting week. The previous 2 weeks have been quite high probability in my opinion. They have been quite good. And the reason why they have been high probability, why they have been good, again, we'll dive into that. Now we're slowly getting into more low probability territory again. Now, does that mean, again, that I'm now trying to scare you and say, don't trade next week, don't do anything next week? No, you just need to be aware of the fact that we'll have NFP again, for example, on that Friday. The next week we'll have something like FOMC again. We'll have CPI the week afterwards as well. Those are things you want to take into account. Those big 3 news events, they disturb price action. They're quite annoying, in my opinion. Okay, for Monday, it's quite a calm day. Canadian dollar red folder news. Not expecting a whole lot. My trading personally starts on Tuesday right there. When we have US dollar red folder news, Australian dollar CPI as well. So ideally, trade afterwards. Then Wednesday right there, some Euro news, some more US dollar news. Thursday, we have core price index, etc. But we have NFP right there on Friday. So the day before big 3 news event, I always want to take a step back personally. I don't want to do anything. Now, I want to emphasize on a few more things, and I want to bring this back a little bit. If you want to trade the day before NFP, then just because I don't do it, I think you can still do it. So in my opinion, it's perfectly fine if you want to trade before NFP. But it's important to understand you need to practice becoming good at spotting consolidations. That's very important. So what I mean by that is the reason I don't trade before NFP, the day before NFP, is because it's more likely to consolidate. Now, it's not always guaranteed to be consolidation. So what you can do, especially if you're a scalper, for example, you can try and spot that consolidation before it happens and then either decide I'm going to trade it or I'm not going to trade it. That's very important. So if the consolidation doesn't happen, then you can simply trade. That's very important to understand as well. We actually did very interesting studies in the MMT as well, based on the percentage of the volatility, the average volatility, how high probability a day is around those big news events. Very interesting, but we'll dive into that as well later on. Perfect. Let me go into the chart. So essentially everything looks good up until later on this week. Okay, the dollar right here, let me break this down fully because I have not done a forecast right here on YouTube for a very long time. So let me break this down fully. First of all, we saw this monthly fair value gap, which we might have wanted to continue lower from, so sting into it, to continue lower right there. That obviously did not happen, at least did not happen just yet. So let's see what we do have. Now on the weekly, on the daily right here, we saw fair value gaps simply getting respected right there. And we simply continued higher, meaning order flow stays intact. So fair value gaps are creating new fair value gaps. So right here, when we keep on creating these fair value gaps and there's no signs of slowing down or anything like that, we start to target things on the left side. So we go against the monthly fair value gap essentially. We have this weekly fair value gap that was an earlier target. Now at this moment in time, we have this weekly swing high right there. We also have this previous candle high and we have this weekly fair value gap right there. Those are the things I currently want to focus on. And on the daily time frame right here, what do we have? We had a few daily fair value gaps right here, which we had to sting back into. Very aggressive move to continue lower at that moment in time, but we are currently respecting it to continue higher as well. On the 4 hour, last week, we had really good price action in my opinion. From this fair value area, fair value gap overlapping, look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. And it targeted the perfect target that we had outlined last week as well. Right there. This was really high probability price action right there. If you want to study something last week, then take a look at Euro US dollar. It was really good. It was absolutely perfect. Now, right here, let's see. We can, overall, in my opinion, don't try to call a top at this moment in time. So if we want to trade back into a weekly fair value gap, okay, we will see clear signs eventually. But at this moment in time, we are very clearly and strongly bullish as well at this moment in time on the dollar. So what do I want to do? I want to simply follow through right here with 4 hour fair value gaps as well to continue higher towards this high. And the main target that will be interesting to see throughout this week is if we can reach this swing high right there, that weekly swing high and daily swing high as well, right there towards the left. If we can reach that throughout this week, that will be very interesting to see. But the first clear target is this high. If we do not reach that, if we start to get bearish fair value gaps, we start to disrespect bullish fair value gaps, then start looking at the weekly fair value gap right here at the bottom. So again, like I've mentioned in the past as well, I can only do a forecast up until a certain moment, right? You have to react right there. This is the area to react right here. So are we going to respect that fair value gap to continue higher towards that high? Or are we going to disrespect it, create bearish fair value gaps to continue lower towards the bullish weekly fair value gap right there? That's very important, okay? All right, but if we assume right here that we want to continue higher, let's take a look at the indices. Let's take a look at the rest of the forecast list right here. Let me see if I'm still moving. Everything still works. Yes, okay. Let's see. What do we have right here? On Russell, we have had quite a big rejection at this moment in time. I believe I had Russell right on the forecast list as well, the previous live streams that we had. I believe so. Okay, then right here, we had quite a big rejection overall to potentially continue lower. We are not respecting the fair value area. Again, if we are not offering fair value, then what are we doing? Seeking liquidity, most likely. So here we have this fair value gap sitting right there, which we currently have a sting into. This is the context low right there. And eventually the fair value area low is sitting right there. So mainly bearish at this moment in time on Russell. Now this is where it gets quite interesting. And in my opinion, this looks actually quite good. So if you're something like an indices trader, looks interesting to continue lower at that moment in time. Now this is where it gets interesting. Because for me, ES and Nasdaq right here are not necessarily bullish just yet. And it looks more like a consolidation right here to potentially still continue higher. Now, it's very important to understand right here that I base that off the higher time frame objective. And what I mean by that is right here, if I look at recent price action, I don't necessarily see any very clear signs in recent price action that we want to be bearish. We have been respecting this bullish fair value gap right there. Potentially we can continue higher, but we have been consolidating. So that makes it tricky right here that we are referring back to constantly the 50% of this range right there. So this 4-hour fair value gap here is crucial, but it's not super interesting. Now let me explain that as well. It's crucial in the fact that if we want to continue higher, we will most likely see some kind of respect. We might consolidate, but we will continue higher, create a new fair value gap to overall continue higher. If that doesn't happen and we do continue lower right there, we might be disrespecting it to overall continue lower right there. Now, when it comes to Nasdaq and ES, I need more confirmation at this moment in time. I can't tell you clearly next week if we will be bullish or we will be bearish right there. On the dollar, it was a lot more clear. So here, for Nasdaq, I would still like to see higher prices, and I would want to see extra confirmation to still potentially continue higher right there as well. Extra confirmation simply in the form of a 4-hour fair value gap going higher, something like that. That's the same for ES right here. Unless we start to create very clear daily 4-hour fair value gaps to continue lower, then I'll switch it. But in the meantime, I want to wait. I want to stick to that higher time frame bullish objective. I don't want to call that top just yet. Okay, on YM. So YM had beautiful price action last week as well. Well, beautiful price action. Let me take that back. At the end of the week, it was quite interesting. We remove everything just so we can get a clean slate right here. On the weekly, we had this weekly fair value gap right there, which we saw a retracement back into. Now, there was no signs of respecting that weekly fair value gap at all. Then here we got a daily fair value gap, stinging into it. Absolutely beautiful to continue lower right there. I believe this right here is the next target, that low right there, very similar to Russell, what we saw. Okay, DAX. DAX to me, it's just in general not super interesting in my opinion, and wouldn't necessarily want to trade it right here. I would like to wait. I prefer the other indices right there. Australian dollar, US dollar, getting into the Forex majors. Let me start off with deleting everything again, and let's start all over again. What do we have on the monthly time frame right here? We are below this previous month's low. Now, potentially we can run that to continue lower as well towards this low right there if the dollar wants to continue being bullish. Okay, let's take a look at the weekly. What do we have right here? Okay, it's important to keep in mind next week, and this is very interesting because this gets into our third topic, which, let me show you. The third topic, high probability week right there. You can see what I'm trying to show you right here with that high probability week. Because why was last week quite a high probability week right there? And why is this week, the week that we are moving into, lower probability? We have reached an opposing PD rate. So we have reached a discount rate. So if we want to continue lower right there, those PD rates, they create a ping pong effect. And what I mean by that is we might sting into a fair value gap to continue lower. We might sting into an opposing, so bullish fair value gap right here, to create a rejection, to then come back into the fair value gap to continue lower, creates a ping pong effect right there. Now, the important part is that one side of the market here is still stronger. So the reactions of those discounted rates only create a small reaction to then continue lower. It's not there to continue higher from, if that makes sense. So here we are now creating a third candle after reaching this discount rate right there. So what could be a perfect opportunity? Well, next week, potentially, and not the week, the NFP week, the week after that, then what we'll see is potentially a weekly value gap overlapping with this low right there to then continue lower from it as well. That's important to take into account because if you now start getting signs of a potential consolidation, then you want to take a step back and realize, hey, we are in a third candle of a fair value gap right there on the weekly time frame. This is something we'll touch on as well in the world of fair value gaps, because when third candles are dangerous on the weekly, on the monthly, on the daily, when you're trying to trade them. Because for example, let's see, do we have anything, a good example of that as well? Let me see. We had a good example earlier. Let me show you this one right there on CHFJPY. So this right there is a third candle of a fair value gap that's about to be created right there. So that is tricky because we're not sure if we want to follow through at that moment in time, and we really struggle to continue higher, and we want to ideally see a consolidation to then retrace back into the value gap to then continue higher. That makes it very tricky. So if we then move back to Australian dollar, US dollar, that's something to take into account, very important. Start noticing that, start paying attention to it. Next to that, Monday, I won't be trading. And Monday right here has a perfect opportunity to create this fair value gap with this overlapping fair value area right there. Very similar to what we see on the weekly actually, to continue lower from it right there as well. That looks quite interesting. That's what I will be paying attention to. Let's see if we can get a clear target. This low as well right there. See on the 4 hour, if we can pinpoint it a little bit better. We have an earlier low right there as well, which we are about to. So what could happen is Monday could have a sting into that. Daily value gap gets created right here because we reach that opposing discount rate to then continue lower like that. Could be very interesting. So let's keep an eye on Australian dollar, US dollar. Overall looks quite good in my opinion heading into the week. Okay, EU. Let's see. Very similar scenario, although we don't really have that clear expansion phase candle right there on the weekly right here for EU. Overall, I just simply want to see bearish price action right here. And I just want to see a continuation lower. Now, this low is quite interesting at the beginning of the week as well. If we can create fair value gaps to continue lower towards that low right there, that is definitely very interesting. See if we have something lower than that. Then afterwards, it becomes this low right there. See if we have something a little bit closer to get a little bit more accuracy. This low right there. Okay, so those are my main targets heading into this week as well. Those lows right there, expecting your US dollar to simply continue lower as well. GU, perfect. Let's see. So in a high probability week, it's very important to understand this. And I've created a newsletter. If you're in the newsletter with us in the MMT as well, you'll notice I've sent out a newsletter regarding this. When something is high probability, so your US dollar is high probability, that does not necessarily mean that your US dollar itself is high probability. Well, yes, your US dollar is part of something bigger. So your US dollar is high probability, but in general, the US dollar is high probability. So the list that we have right here that you can see on the right, that I'm moving my mouse over right there on the right side. This is Australian dollar, US dollar, EU, GU, New Zealand dollar, US dollar, Canadian dollar. This is the group US dollar. That's what we call the majors right there. But these are high probability when the dollar is high probability. So the US dollar is high probability. If I move on to the crosses right here, let me move my camera a little bit right there. You can see I've changed my list. So people that remember my cross list right there, this is a little bit different right here because I've grouped them. JPY right there is one group. CHF is one group. Canadian dollar is one group. New Zealand dollar is one group. Euro is one group. Meaning that right here, what we see is if we go into a week, JPY might be high probability. So the group JPY is high probability. So within that group, you will still have different probabilities. So what I mean by that, if we then go back into the forecast list and we go back into Euro US dollar last week, the US dollar is high probability, Euro US dollar was high probability, but it's a different probability than GBP US dollar. So we still need to identify within that group which one is the higher probability one. Now, for me, Euro US dollar last week, this move right here was really good. This is a really good move right there. You can study that. That's really high probability. One of the highest probability moves that we saw last week. Then here, GU is a little bit lower probability. Why? It's also creating bullish value gaps. It's a lot stronger than Euro US dollar right there. So even though I mentioned the US dollar is high probability, please don't go ahead and then trade every US dollar pair right there. No, because within that group, you still have different probabilities as well. Very important. Okay, now GU right here. Let's see what we have. Quite similar price action overall, but you will notice this is a little bit stronger. And yeah, I don't like this. Where I like AU and I like EU right there, I personally am not a big fan of GU at this moment in time. I would prefer to trade something like EU and AU. Now overall, GU, yes, still bearish. And I think we will still continue lower. But it will continue lower in a more difficult price action. So it will reject a little bit more from bullish price action right there, or from those discount rates. It will struggle a little bit more to continue lower. But overall, I still want to see lower price as well. This low right there first. And afterwards, let's see. We have this old fair value area right there. Quite interesting. Okay, New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Again, similar story to what we just mentioned. We want to identify the highest probability one. This, in my opinion, is not necessarily the highest probability one, but it does look all right. We're also creating a daily fair value gap right there. I want to wait for that. And Tuesday, in a utopia, so in an ideal world, we get a Monday consolidation, Tuesday, sting back into that fair value gap right there, to then continue lower and heading into NFP as well. That would be absolutely lovely. Is that going to happen? Who knows? We need to react, of course. Let's see. On the 4 hour, if we can pinpoint a little bit better what we are going to target. Those lows right there, they look quite interesting as well, in my opinion. All right, looks quite interesting. Do like it as well. I'll edit, if I were to create an interest list, so the pairs I'm most interested in, it would at this moment in time be AU, EU, and New Zealand dollar, US dollar. US dollar, Canadian dollar. So US dollar, Canadian dollar is an interesting example. Because right here, the drawn liquidity has been quite clear. As in the target, the direction of price has been quite clear. We've been moving higher. We can target those highs right there. Now, overall, the delivery towards it and the narrative has been quite difficult. Now we are clearing up. It's clearing up a little bit more. So we have this fair value gap, this fair value area as well on the 4 hour, which we can potentially continue higher from right there towards that swing high as well. Does look quite interesting. And as well, daily value gap in the making right there. So definitely throughout the week, and especially at the beginning of the week, I do believe that we will see some opportunities. Again, don't go into the market and essentially think, hey, Arjo said that there might be opportunity, so there must be an opportunity. No, because I will also be reacting. I'm doing a forecast right now of what I will be expecting. If the market meets those expectations, I will be entering. If the market doesn't meet those expectations, then it's low probability for me. I don't want to do anything. So when you head into a week, head into a day of trading, you set out certain expectations of what you want to see from the market, essentially. If the market doesn't meet those expectations, it's low probability. Very important to understand. US dollar CHF, and not that interesting to me. I think there's better price action out there. We do have a weekly value gap right there, but overall, I think the other majors right there are a lot higher probability. I mean, look at the daily. It's a very clear sign of a consolidation right there. US dollar JPY, part of the JPY group as well. It's quite high probability at this moment in time. Let's see. Reach the monthly value gap right there. Reach this daily fair value gap, which we can potentially continue higher from right there with this context high sitting right there as well. The 4 hour, I would like a little bit extra confirmation on the 4 hour and the 1 hour to potentially continue higher right here already. In the meantime, I personally like to wait a little bit right here, because this is quite an aggressive rejection right there. It's a rejection fair value gap. So the rejection, the third candle, is quite an aggressive move lower right there to create a smaller fair value gap right there. Okay. Silver. So silver and gold have been also the past few weeks. Yeah, this has been beautiful right there. And I saw it a lot on social media as well. That's, of course, a beautiful price action. That's a beautiful price move overall. Now, let's see afterwards, because once we take out those major highs are intermediate highs and intermediate lows. Major highs are extremely important in your trading once we take them. So once we have reached them, you want to take a step back. Because when we reach them, it's more likely that we will create a deep retracement, because this right now is a fair value area, to then offer that fair value to then continue higher again. So right here, what do we have? We have a few things. On the daily right here, this is already beautiful, but last week it was very late during that week, and we're also in the third candle. So the weekly fair value gap right here is also created, which we could have a sting into to then continue higher right there as well, heading into next week. I really like this price action at this moment in time. I will be reacting. So seeing if we sting back into this weekly fair value gap, unless we already start getting new 4-hour fair value gaps right here to continue higher, I will be following those. So that's, again, an objective plan. Either we get 4-hour fair value gaps right there to already continue higher, or we get a sting back into the weekly fair value gap right there to then continue higher from that. Overall, higher prices. And I really like silver because, in my opinion, there's a lot of potential right here and it does look very good. So let's see if it actually wants to follow through. Okay, let's see. Gold. So gold is a little bit different. Now gold also has a weekly fair value gap right there with a weekly fair value area. We might see a sting into that. Now here on gold, I want to monitor this fair value gap right there. And I want to see what we want to do with this high right here. So after reaching that high, will we have a big rejection to retrace back into it? Or will we run the high and simply continue higher as well? I, at this moment in time, prefer silver. We could argue gold is stronger, and I do agree with that because, well, the facts don't lie. It is simply stronger, gold. But silver right here has potentially a better opportunity to continue higher right there as well. So I prefer silver overall. Bitcoin. We have not gone over Bitcoin in a very long time. Well, we have not gone over anything in a very long time. Bitcoin is very interesting. And I've been mentioning for I believe, did I mention it in the previous live stream here before the summer break? I'm not too sure. But Bitcoin, I've had this theory for quite some long time on Bitcoin right now. And the theory is the following. So we have been consolidating right here on Bitcoin for quite some time. This, at this moment in time, is not the all-time high in my opinion, and I think we will target that high right there. Now, even if Bitcoin wants to continue lower, then again, this is just a theory. So we would have to see what happens right there and if price action is supporting the ID. Then even if Bitcoin wants to continue lower, it can't continue lower right here at this moment in time. So it's going to reach the all-time high. It needs to reach the all-time high because right here are a lot of new buyers. Think of all the news outlets that always post Bitcoin just rose 10K in a day and it's at a new all-time high. A lot of people that don't know about Bitcoin are going to buy Bitcoin at that moment in time. That is perfect exit liquidity. That is perfect to close previous buy orders right there as well. And to essentially create something like this. All-time high. A lot of momentum, a lot of hype, a lot of news, to then something like this. It's just a theory, so crypto bros, don't get angry at me. It's just a theory of what I think might happen. But if Bitcoin wants to continue lower, then we will reach that all-time high right there, in my opinion, guaranteed. And then we will see a huge drop-off like this, in my opinion. That would be very interesting to see what will happen right there on Bitcoin. In the meantime, in my opinion, we will still reach this all-time high. Even if we want to continue higher right there, then of course, thank you, Arjo, Captain Obvious, we will reach that all-time high as well. So here we have this fair value area right there as well, which we are currently respecting to continue higher overall right there as well towards that all-time high. Does look quite interesting. Last week, we looked at this. This is very interesting price action right there as well, if you want to study something. And here, new 4-hour value gaps to overall continue higher right there as well. I'm not necessarily expecting a retracement into the weekly value gap. Well, let me put it this way. I would not want to see a retracement back into that weekly value gap. If we do get that, then that's very suspicious in my eyes, because it doesn't make sense to create such a deep retracement right there, especially if we're taking into account the theory that I just mentioned. If we want to trick people into the market at that all-time high right there, then it doesn't make sense to now create a deep retracement. It should have momentum going higher right there to trick people in, to then potentially exit positions to continue lower, etc. That's my thought process on it. We'll see if it happens, of course. We have to have price action supporting the ID. So what I think is a lot of people actually create theories like that in the market as well. And they might think, well, if we first take out the liquidity right there, but don't stick to that, because for me, it's just a theory, right? I'm just thinking, oh, this might happen. That could be quite interesting. But I will still react. If that doesn't happen, then I won't take a loss, essentially, because I will be reacting overall. That's very important to understand. That I'm not sticking. I'm not marrying that theory. Okay. Crude oil. Crude oil has been, plainly said, quite atrocious. in the previous months and previous weeks right there. Hasn't been that great. So let's take a look right here. What do we have? We have on the monthly, it's not great price action to analyze even. So here on the monthly, I was expecting more higher prices right here to potentially continue higher, take out those highs right there. Now, currently on the daily right here, we came back into this fair value area right there. We tried to respect it, but we didn't. The only thing I want to see right now is a daily fair value gap to continue higher right there to target highs again. That's what I would like to see. Now, I could be very wrong because this is just a simple consolidation at this moment in time. So we could also see lower prices overall right there. But again, I want to see a daily fair value gap right here to continue higher from right there as well. Ideally, that's ideally for me. But in the meantime, we need to react as well. Bank Nifty, beautiful price action. Bank Nifty in the previous months, opposite of crude oil, has been providing really good price action. Let me walk you through it as well. It's been really, even if you don't trade Bank Nifty, it's a really good study. It's awesome price action. Let's see. What do we have? Okay, on the monthly, we had this monthly fair value gap. If you struggle with spotting the fair value gaps on something like Bank Nifty, you can go to indicators and you can go no gaps candles right there. And right here, it will show you the clear fair value gap. So I actually marked it wrong. That's the fair value gap right there. Now, let's see. Let's remove that. Okay. Then, right here, we have this monthly fair value gap. Perfect context area, of course, to continue higher right there, especially towards that new all-time high as well. Here we got really beautiful price action as well. At this moment in time, we had this fair value gap right there, daily fair value gap against us. We start disrespecting that right here. Continue higher from this 4-hour value gap as well. Essentially beautiful price action to target that all-time high. After we reach the all-time high, this is where it gets interesting. Because after we reach the all-time high, what's the all-time high? The all-time high is a major high. So it's an intermediate high. So when we reach that intermediate high right there, this automatically turns into a fair value area. So if we want to continue higher, we will retrace back into it to then continue higher from it. Now what we see right here is an extremely aggressive rejection to continue lower, potentially. So what happens? We're not offering fair value. So if we're not offering fair value, what are we doing? We're seeking liquidity. Liquidity in the form of the fair value area low. Okay, so what do we have? What can we continue lower from? We have this weekly fair value gap right there. I just saw someone mention candle science is changing my life. Love to hear it. Let me dive into candle science as well. Candle science, first candle doesn't reject. Second candle can sweep the previous candle high to then continue lower. That's candle science. So right here on the daily, what do we see? This daily fair value gap, which we can continue lower from. First candle respects, second candle can continue lower right there to target this low right here and eventually target this low as well, the fair value area low, the main target that we had established. Now, candle science, this is quite a big rejection. This next candle could potentially be a consolidation right here, sting back into the fair value gap that we are creating to then continue lower as well from that. Very interesting price action, absolutely lovely. Even on the 4-hour actually already, this is beautiful right there. Right there. And notice this is, it's super interesting to me, but notice right here, it's also candle science. How does this fair value gap get created? By the previous candle low right there. Sweep of the low, trade back into the fair value gap right there. Ping pong to continue lower from right there. Super interesting, super beautiful price action. Absolutely love to see it. All right, that's the forecast done. Let's see. We're moving on to high probability week. And of course, in the meantime, I'm also going to go over questions, etc. that we might have. Let's see. There it is. Perfect. This is a great way to improve my handwriting as well. Make it a little bit more beautiful. Okay, let's see what we have. No crosses. We can go over some crosses. Let's go over some crosses as well. And then we can understand as well what makes a high probability week, what makes a low probability week. Let's go over some crosses. Let me start off by just, I haven't done any forecast. So before the forecast, for your information, I don't do any forecast myself as well. So I just dive into it essentially with an empty mind. Let's see what we have. JPY pairs, in my opinion, look quite good to potentially continue higher. I'll explain it a little bit clearly as well. Let me see CHF. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar does have some interesting price action as well. I remember from last week. Let's see. So the main interesting thing to me right here is CHF-JPY in my opinion. CHF-JPY has very nice price action last week. It had very nice price action as well. So if we break this down, we have this monthly value gap right there. In overall bullish environment, right? So that's a monthly bearish value gap, yes. But look at this. We've been going higher. So is it very reasonable right there to say we are going to respect that to continue lower? Well, we can wait for the rejection. Yes, we can potentially trade that. But long term, we will still continue higher and target this new all-time high right there. So here on the weekly, you can see it more clearly. This is the monthly value gap, this gray box right there. We create a rejection. We sweep the context low. Very interesting theory. Again, this is in MMT. We talk about this even a little bit more in depth. Is essentially the same theory that we just applied on Bitcoin, where here the context is very important because this is a context area. And the reason why it still reaches that context area, because even if it needed to continue higher right there at that moment in time, this low is needed as a liquidity to continue higher from. Very interesting. Here, then eventually we create this weekly value gap, new weekly context area right there. And eventually right here, we have this daily value gap, which we can potentially also continue higher from. Only tricky thing is that we're in a weekly third candle right there, whilst also running into resistance. So we might get a consolidation to then next week, the week after, continue higher as well. That's something to take into account. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar right here. Take a look. We have a weekly value gap right there, which we're currently getting rejection from as well. We have this low right here, which we are potentially targeting. On the 4 hour, we had this fair value area right there, and also the nested fair value area, which we can potentially continue lower from. Right here, it's quite close already. So on the 1 hour, potentially the 4 hour right here, if we create a fair value gap to continue lower from it, to target these lows right there, could potentially be interesting. Let's see if we have any more questions as well. Arjo, why don't you use inversion fair value as much in your trading? I'm going to touch on this actually in the world of fair values video as well. But take this from someone who essentially has, well, quote unquote, I want to not necessarily put my ego very high right here, but take it for someone who has quote unquote mastered fair value gaps somewhat, or who at least is very passionate about fair value gaps. You don't understand fair value gaps if you use inversion fair value gaps. So someone that uses inversion fair value gaps, they don't understand the nature of fair value gaps. And the reason there's a very in-depth explanation about that as well. But inverse fair value gaps, let me just simply explain it to you as well. Inverse fair value gaps are useless. They are random fair value gaps. I think they are just completely made up things. Again, that's my opinion. If you are profitable using them, ignore me, go ahead and do whatever you do. And I think you can use them profitably, but I think you don't need them. So if you already use normal fair value gaps, then you definitely don't need inversion fair value gaps. So for example, right here, we see this inversion fair value gap right there. A fair value gap that has been overtaken. Now here, it might seem like it's respecting this inversion fair value gap, right? But 9 out of 10 times, when this happens, you will simply see a fair value gap with a lot more accuracy. Notice how more accurate this is compared to this inverse fair value gap right there, to continue lower from that fair value gap. So inverse fair value gaps, let me be a little more positive, are still very helpful in understanding which fair value gaps are getting respected, which ones are getting disrespected. But to trade from, etc., they are not relevant, because all you need to do is focus on the most recent price action. So here we create a bullish fair value gap, doesn't follow through, we create a bearish fair value gap. So this bearish fair value gap is what you want to trade from. This can now be removed. And the nature of a fair value gap right there, this is not even relevant anymore. That level is not relevant anymore. So that's the same like me putting on a level right there and saying, okay, this can always be traded back into. Look at the accuracy right there. It's support. Look at now the support right there. Look at the resistance that we have right there, or the support again. That's the same like an inverse fair value gap. It's just a random level. It doesn't make any sense. That's why I don't use it. And again, that's coming from someone that is essentially very passionate about fair value gaps. If they were really useful, I would have also said it. So it's not just me promoting the fair value gaps. But even if for your own study, you can study it for yourself. If you study it for yourself, you will get to the same conclusion as I have. I noticed that you sometimes take trades on days without news. Yes, that is correct. Correct. That is very correct. Yes. And for yourself as well. So this is something that I want to mention. For yourself, it is very important to understand when you just have a blank new trading plan. And I tell you something like you should only focus on certain news, events, etc. You should only focus on those. In some aspects, I want you to ignore me, whatever I say. And the reason for that is because when you have a complete new trading plan and I provide you with solutions, because essentially news and only trading on news days is a solution to a problem that I experience to make my trades higher probability. In your case, when you just have a new trading plan, you don't have any problems just yet. Now, of course, you're going to have quite a few problems in the future. You're going to need to find high probability conditions, etc. But at that moment in time, you have a clean slate. You have nothing. So instead of me providing solutions to problems that you might not have in the future, so if I say you always need to focus on the third fair value gap, but you never have that problem, so then I'm just putting a problem into your mind that you never have in the first place. So what I'm trying to get at is if you have a new trading plan, just focus on trading potentially without news. Now, you need to journal. Otherwise, it's not going to work. If you start journaling then, and you start journaling over and over, you're most likely not going to be profitable straight away with that trading plan. So then you're going to find certain patterns. And then if you then notice and you say, hey, Arjo mentioned something about news. If I apply that to my journal and I start paying attention to that, could I then filter out certain losses? And if that's then the case, then start focusing on news. So that's also because I have switched from a trading plan that I previously had to a new trading plan, which is a stick entry plan. And for my stick entry plan, I currently don't have any evidence supporting the ID that I need news right there. Now, I do want news throughout the week. So I do want to focus on news throughout the week. But yeah, overall, I don't focus on it that much for my specific day. Inverse fair value gap is usually to confirm a reversal after a new fair value gap to new direction. Yes, but let me explain this clearly. And in trading, eventually, when you get to a more profitable stage, that sounds very odd, but when you get to a more profitable stage and a full-time trading, you'll notice and understand how important this is. If we have an inverse fair value gap, which might say or give you, okay, there's a clear reversal at this moment in time. And I also have fair value gaps, which show you the exact same thing. Now I'm focusing on two things. If I remove one thing and I can say the same exact thing by just focusing on one single thing, which is fair value gaps, then don't you think by taking away one focus right there, I will have more focus and more energy to also focus on my psychology whilst actually trading. So when I say people are distracted by the charts, those people are oftentimes also, they use things like inverse fair value gaps because you don't need it. Because you can blend in the inverse fair value gap into just the use of fair value gaps. So let me explain that clearly. This fair value gap right here is not following through. The reversal is shown by this fair value gap first getting respected. It has a rejection, fails to follow through, to then create a bearish fair value gap right there. So that already shows us the reversal. That's also just a sharp turn. So since that shows you reversal, you don't need to pay attention to the inverse fair value gap. And I can remove one element. And by removing one element, I can now have extra focus, extra energy to focus on other things, focus on psychology, focus on things that are more important. So if I had 1,000 elements right here, I had a lot of indicators on my chart to get to a direction. And I could do the same thing instead of having those indicators and focus on one singular thing. Then I have a lot of energy, focus left to do and focus on my psychology, focus on other things that are truly important. So I think, but that's my opinion. Again, if you're profitable with it, perfectly fine. But study it. Keep an open mind to it. I kept an open mind to inverse value gap. I've used them in the past. I don't use them anymore because I think they are not helpful. Let's see what we have before we dive into the understanding of high probability week as well. My rectangle box color, that is, let me see here, that one right there. It's what is it, 323A40, that one right there. Why don't you use SMT? So it's, and this is very interesting, and we can talk about this a lot, but it's a very similar thought process to what I have in inverse value gaps. And again, there are people out there that use inverse value gaps, that use SMT profitably. But still, I would ask those people, have you truly looked at your own data to see if it's relevant for your trading plan? Because when I take trades, and what I just did right here, I went over Canadian dollar JPY and I went over CHF JPY. And I looked at which one is higher probability, based on which one is stronger right there. And I came to the conclusion CHF JPY is stronger right there. So I don't need SMT anymore, because when I take a trade and when it's a good trade right there, SMT is going to happen regardless. So I remove again one element and I have more focus right there for my psychology. So can you imagine how easy it is to stick to my psychology and stick to everything that I need to stick to, because I don't have 1,000 rules, if that makes sense. So for me, SMT, what I came to notice, SMT for me is not relevant. It's not relevant. And I used SMT in the past as well, the same as I used inverse value gaps. I used commitment of traders data. I used a lot of things in trading. But people told me to use that. And I never looked at it myself and said, let me just critically think right here. Is this actually relevant for my trading plan or not? And 9 out of 10 things were just not relevant. And 1 out of 10 things was a fair value gap. And again, that's for me, right? That's for me, because I know people that trade SMT profitably, 100%. I just think when it comes to, have you ever wondered why a hedge fund or people with a lot of capital make their trading plan quite easy? Like, you could go up to them and say, are you trading support and resistance? That's it. You're not using SMT. You're not using order blocks. Well, that's because it works for them, but it's also for another reason. Because if you only focus on support and resistance, simple support and resistance, then you have so much brain point, so much energy, so much focus to actually focus on psychology, which at the end of the day is more important, because it's not the technicals at the end of the day. And of course, to a certain degree, it is technical. It can help you. It can aid you. But if everyone, and the technicals are not rocket science, so everyone can understand the technicals to a certain degree, then why isn't everyone profitable? Psychology. So that's essentially what it comes down to, after having a clear training plan, of course. But I'll stop ranting about that as well. Let's see. Thank you, Delaney. Thank you. The beautiful Brazil. Do you use futures currencies? No. It's the same thing. I don't want to rant about it too much, but I think it's very valuable to understand it. So futures currencies, there are people that, for example, above this cross list, for the crosses right there, still have, for example, JPY futures, Canadian dollar futures. Now, if I go into JPY right there, then you'll see this is bearish. You'll see Canadian dollar right there is also bearish. You'll see euro is also bearish. Why? Because they're all moving opposite of the dollar. Now, why do I then not look at the futures? You can identify clear opportunities right here by looking at a futures chart right there. But you can't identify which one of those JPY then is higher probability. So for example, here well, you can, but it's difficult. So here, I noticed JPY has a potential opportunity from this daily fair value gap right there. Now, people that trade futures currencies might go into then Canadian dollar to then also compare to see how it is if they want to trade Canadian dollar JPY. Then they might go into GBP Let me see right there, GBP. Okay, it's also interesting. Now, a very interesting thing about Forex, pairs already do this for you. So I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but right there, pairs, Canadian dollar JPY already compares Canadian dollar futures against JPY futures. So it already does that for you. So the futures currencies and analyzing them is just another step that can be removed. So the same thing, it doesn't have to be that difficult. And simplifying, I need you to understand this. When you really understand how a software works, how an app works, I'm not a software developer or anything like that. But when you really understand something, a website, whatever it may be, you can also hack it. So that's the only thing I still picked up from my computer science study that I did. When you understand really something really good, you are able to hack it because you can also see the faults and the errors in it. Now, the same way, if you really understand trading and you really understand certain concepts, you are also able to simplify it. Simplifying is not for idiots. Simplifying is actually, in my humble opinion, for more geniuses, because you're able to recognize certain things that don't need to be there to get to the same exact outcome. That's simplifying. So Canadian dollar JPY is already Canadian dollar against JPY futures. So if I just analyze CHF JPY, Canadian dollar JPY, Euro JPY, then I get to the same exact conclusion, just easier and faster. Ta-da! If that makes sense. Let's see. Optimization, exactly, Elijah. Yeah, nice one. And again, what I also want to say with that, just because I say it, right, I would still advise, if you want to, and you're interested in SMT, for example, or inverse value gaps, I would not say don't do it. I would say take what I said, take it into account, take what the other person said, take it into account, and see for yourself what you like, what you prefer, etc. So just because I say it, you don't necessarily need to do it that way, but also just because someone else tells you to use inverse value gaps, don't just take it for granted. Don't say, okay, well, then I'm going to do that. No. Study it. Be critical in your thinking. Do you really need it? It's called efficiency. More input doesn't equal more output. Exactly. Especially in trading. In trading, more concepts, more things don't equate to more understanding or more profits, essentially. But it's very interesting. Yeah, very well said. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Yeah. All right. Let's dive into the next one right there. High probability week. So I have had, and the reason why I had this open right here, let me actually show it to you right there. Let me see if you can see it. I had this one open. So this is a newsletter that I send out. I send out weekly newsletters to people who are interested in that. It's completely for free as well. And in this newsletter, if you're interested in it, I'll paste a link as well right here. Let me see if I can paste it. That is it right there. That's the link. And the reason why I send out this newsletter is essentially to get to the understanding of what is a high probability week and what is a low probability week. And it's a really interesting read in my opinion, and this is what I'm going to build on right here as well. So when it comes to high probability week and low probability weeks, we need to understand that every single week is different. So just because we have, very similar to the pairs that we talked about, just because we have 2 weeks does not mean they are the exact same, does not mean they are the same probability. Quite logically, I would say. Quite logic, I would say. Now, this can be understood from the group's perspective as well. So the reason why I talk to JPY group right there, I talk about CHF group, Canadian dollar group, New Zealand dollar group, Euro group, and also the majors, the US dollar group right there, is because they are groups. So we're not looking at 30 individual pairs right here. No, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups that can potentially be high probability. Within those groups, you will have different probabilities as well. Now, the reason why this is important, because for example, CHF JPY, it takes long for it to form a weekly value gap to potentially continue higher from there right there. So one group already takes very long to potentially create the highest probability opportunities right there, purely based on price action. Then if you start to compare this as well, and you start to understand right here the calendar, the news events, then you will notice that the high probability weeks tend to happen in later during the month. So what I mean by that is we actually did a study. Let me see. We mentioned it right here. Weeks 1, 4, and 5 in general are the best for volatility. We are just coming from week 4 and 5. We're heading now into week number 1 again for November right there. Those are really good for volatility. Those are really good for opportunities in the market. Then right here, and for your own journal, see if that's true. See during which weeks of the month you actually are most profitable. Very interesting study. Then right here, for week number 1, at the end of week number 1, we dive into NFP. Week number 2, we dive now into FOMC, into, well, even presidential election. Of course, that's crazy. Then FOMC statement. Then right here, CPI in week number 3. Then week number 4, week number 5, they start to clear up again because we don't have anything obstructing price action, meaning we don't have big 3 news events that stand in our way. So when those big 3 news events and when those volatility and the price action right there in combination right there shows us good price action right there in the chart, that's exactly what we want to see. And that is what makes a high probability week. Now, this is also what I want to do with those topics right there. Ideally want you to study that topic as well, right there, for your own. So that can be very interesting and very good for your own understanding, because what I've mentioned in the past 2 weeks, so this week that we just had and the previous week that we had as well, it's very important to understand those weeks were high probability, were good weeks, were really good opportunities as well. Now we're slowly heading into lower probability weeks. Does not mean that there won't be any opportunities. It's just understanding high probability weeks, they don't last. So not every week is going to be high probability. So it's very important to understand a low probability is just around the corner at every single moment in time. A low probability takes a lot longer. Low probability conditions, they last longer than high probability. Why? Because if we think about this right here, the expansion was 1 candle. Then the consolidation to trade back into, let me show you that, sorry. Right there. The expansion right here was 1 candle. The consolidation before that and after that, that's 2 candles. So 33% of the time, we are essentially in high probability conditions because that's when we're expanding. That is when it lines up with the volatility, etc. So last week right there, it's high probability because the volatility lines up with the price action that we see right there. That's important to understand. Very interesting topic as well. So if you want to study something, study that. Very, very interesting. I also posted in the Telegram. Let me see. I'll post it afterwards. Let's see. Why did you close your prop firm? Good question as well. So of course, for the people that know, we had Fun and Friends, which we've been working on for a very long time. And after a month, I believe, I decided to close it, to close shop. And the reason for that is quite simple, is because, well, there's only a limited amount of time that I have throughout the day. And I just felt I had an obligation towards myself, towards my own trading, towards the MMT as well, towards everyone here for the YouTube live streams, which we couldn't do because we also had Fun and Friends. And that time right there was too consuming with Fun and Friends. So it was too consuming where I decided I don't want to do this. I don't enjoy doing it. I enjoy giving free value, sitting here, renting a lot and just giving value. That's what I enjoy. I didn't enjoy it. And essentially my time was compromised because of it as well. So that's when I decided, well, it's better to do it right now than to do it in a year when I say I don't enjoy it. And we were able to pay everyone back. Everyone got their payout as well. So no financial things or anything. That was not the case. It was purely that it was just time. And I didn't enjoy it. That's it. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you. It's also something I enjoy a lot more. Where with a prop firm, it was very interesting because it feels like you're taking a lot with a prop firm. It feels like you're constantly taking. With YouTube and with providing content, with providing value, it feels like I'm giving a lot. I don't really care. It makes me so satisfied to just know I'm making someone out there is learning and is becoming better. Or someone got to a payout because of the information I gave. That's so extremely valuable. And just taking it felt super wrong, in my opinion. But that's just how I am. It's just how I am. And I had to experience it to realize that as well. So it's a really good realization to understand, what do I want to do? Yeah, essentially, do what you love to do. And sometimes you have to do some things in order to find that as well, to find your goal, or to make you realize as well in general, to let you take a step back to realize, hey, I already had something beautiful. I don't need that. If that makes sense. Waar ben je, bro? Where are you? I'm in Colombia, my friend. Colombia. In Colombia. Yeah. Let's see. Ira, how to differentiate pullback and change of direction? A very good question. Very interesting as well. So the way the market tops and create certain tops in the market is very interesting. And this is something that you can also study. But essentially what happens is you will first of all have something like this on one singular time frame. This might be the 1 minute time frame right here. Then you also have the same thing that happens on the 1 minute time frame. If you were to go up a time frame on the 5 minute right here, it happens something like that. And this area is this right here, what you'll see on the 1 minute, where it's just a continuation, a retracement to continue higher. Now this happens a lot. And how do we differentiate them is when this right here doesn't happen on the 1 minute time frame or on the 4 hour, it happens on the weekly or the daily. That's when you'll truly see huge reversals right there. If it happens on the lower time frame, it could, again, you could enter this and it could be a short-term reversal. But understand you're trading a retracement in the bigger picture right there. That's very important. That's very important. Are you rich? I have a beautiful family. I have a healthy dogs. I have healthy a girlfriend, healthy family as well. I'm an uncle actually, which I'm very happy with as well. I love my my cousins essentially. So that makes me rich. That makes me rich, my friend. Let's see. We'll be live next Sunday. Yes. I won't promise anything, but yes. Yes. For one in life. Thoughts on the election volatility based on your trading experience. When it was very early in my trading time when the previous election was. But overall, expect before that, very similar, just an enhanced big three news event. So what I mean by that, before that, you might see some consolidations, weird price action. After that, huge spikes towards both sides of the market. And after that, we'll just slowly gain traction again. Thank you. I think the live stream, in my honest opinion, the live stream always has more value than a video. Well, of course, we can discuss that, as in there's arguments towards both sides. Because of course the videos itself, that's like the foundation. Next week live, I'll try my best. Yes, it will most likely be around the same time, same day. So just taking that Sunday right there to learn, etc. How do you deal with losses? Taking them on the chin. It sucks. You can't really do anything about losses in the short term. And what I mean by that is trying to then revenge trade, overtrade to gain it back is not what you want to do. Now, over a long period of time, you can do something about losses. You can slowly start filtering them out. And that's what you should do with losses. But in the short term, it's just something you should accept, essentially. If you have the time, Hassan, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the live streams, previous live stream can also be very valuable. It's where I don't know, we apply it more. So the video is more so, it's of course hindsight as well, but that's, I think, the best way to learn, in my opinion. And then once we have the theory on it, the concept, we understand that. The live stream is more so, okay, well, how do we now apply it? what are the realities about trading, what are the certain things like that, if that makes sense. The world of fair value gaps is coming. The world of fair value gaps. Which one gets, when one gets to the point of profitability with a proven track record, how do you go about finding investors and becoming a private equity manager? Luck, but also it's sort of a strategy that you can use. And what I mean by that is you can make yourself known. So for example, right now, Ante, I have no idea who you are, what you do, or anything like that. But if you scream from the top of your lungs on social media every day, hey, I manage this, I have this track record right there, who is willing to invest? Do you know any investors? Knock on my door, send an email to this, send an email to that, for example. And they will come finding you. For example, for me, it's a lot easier where I get as well people essentially that email me to say, hey, would you like to, or are you interested in managing our capital? And because I'm already big on YouTube, etc., things like that. But for you, you need to really put it out there as well a little bit more. So knowing people, having connections. For example, on my side, it was very lucky. First of all, I got very lucky, very privileged, essentially, where I knew the person itself. So it wasn't like I had to do that outreach, essentially. It was very important. I don't know if that makes sense. Let's say, found your channel, Arjo. I got motivation from your stop trading and learn it. Now I'm profitable, making decent money. One of the main things I learned. Quit all social media. I love that, and you'll love that. Love that. Yeah, very important. It's one of the first things when you come into the MMT, which I'll mention to people. Quit social media. And again, it's not necessarily well. The reason why I mentioned that is because I think social media it sets, first of all, very wrong expectations on a lot of things. Like you won't make 10% in a week when just starting out. Let's first focus on getting you to a place where you are comfortably making 10% a year and then scaling your capital. Let's first focus on that. And social media in general, when you're trading, unless you're learning and you're focusing on one mentor, like I've mentioned as well, then I can see it be beneficial. But other than that, there's a lot of noise on it. I'm working as a software developer and remotely, but struggle to decide what timeframes to use for entry. First of all, if I understand your message correctly, you don't have a lot of time, I imagine, but you do work remotely, so you do have some time to look at it. What about a filtering process? So entering on the 1 hour, 50 minutes, like that. So then it would be daily, weekly context areas. What are your thoughts on Tom Dante? I've seen some of back in the day, especially you saw Tom Dante's videos as well, and to me it's super interesting. I really like the guy. I really resonate with him in the way that he's very down to earth. Very, I feel like I quite gather some inspiration from Tom Dante, as in he's really down to earth, really says what it's like to be a trader, etc. That's what I really like about Tom Dante. So I only have respect for him. Let's see. I'll continue to say this. Thank you, Arjo, for coming into my life. It seems Stop Loss is scared of me now. Love to see it, Caleb. That's all credits to you, my friend. I can only do so much. Stick entry is based on what is it? Candle signs. It's a really good question, by the way. After how many months of profitability I can call myself profitable? It's a really good question. So I had a question the other day from someone that came to me and asked me, is a track record or is a broker statement, for example, enough to show profitability? And I mentioned, I think it's a step in the right direction, yes, but I don't think that is in itself is profitability. What I mean by that is you need to dissect the trades that you took. So for example, if you are reliant on a trend in your trading, we need to see you being able to survive consolidations. So when the market is not doing anything for a month and it's not a great month in general, are you able to survive that? if you can survive that and you can thrive in good months, that makes you profitable. That's also when people or prop firms start A-booking you. So you get A-booked when, first of all, your risk is good. Your risk is very good. It's small, your risk as well. Not a lot, not 5%, anything like that. And the prop firm can see, hey, we now have 3 months, 4 months of data. Let's see how this person is doing. So he has, we can sort of see a pattern in his trading. We can see he's always trying to capitalize on those trending moves. Okay, but how does he do in consolidation price action? Does he still survive, or does he go crazy with risk, adding new positions? If that's the case, you're not profitable, if that makes sense. So there's quite a lot of nuances to it, I would argue. Do you have an opinion on T-Trades? Lovely guy, in my opinion. Lovely guy, really great guy, in my opinion. That's about it. Really great guy, yeah. In regards to Derek, he answers my email every time. I don't know if Derek sees these live streams, but it's always, it's very funny. I'll send it to him. All right. That's the infamous all right. Team, I'm going to end it here. As much as I would like the live stream for it to never end as well. Thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. The immense support as well. That's really, really appreciated. Next week, hopefully we also get the videos going again. The live streams, we get them going again as well. And yeah, thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. We go full cam as well. Thank you everyone for every single week on Sunday. It's good to take Sunday. Let's call it study Sunday, something like that. And we'll also go over topics that we have right there. I'll leave you with some homework. So the homework for this week, study high probability weeks right there. Very, very, very important. And you need to study on your own because we want to make you into a self-sufficient trader. So not reliant on me, not reliant on anyone else. And that is very, very important as well. So thank you everyone for being here. Next week, live stream Sunday again. I'll keep everyone updated as well. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough. Very grateful for everyone here. Thank you, thank you, thank you everyone. Thank you. All right. See you at the next one.